What's up, man?
Uh-oh.
Sorry, guys.
Doing?
You goofy, you.
Yeah, I clicked. I did the link and clicked too many clicks. So
I can clickety click in a heartbeat. It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
So we got a special guest tonight on this balmy, sultry summer night.
yes.
We have someone straight from the coast, straight from vacation that's come to join us. We're gonna have a good time.
Oh
But,
yeah.
Hey, how you doing, Sean? Thank you for watching. We've got a lot to go over, books and projects and questions and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Without
All I know is the Boo Crew will be rolling, and we'll be rolling deep for Gettysburg Battlefield Bash.
We will be on the move.
We're rolling deep.
Yep, we're gonna have the music. We're gonna have a whole EVP session going down the road.
Yes.
We'll be using the Book of the Dead prototype all the way there. We've got some amazing things coming up. So we will be in Gettysburg. Yes. I talked with Pam Berry today. Everything's looking great. I think that the tickets are pretty much sold out for the Monster Bash Friday night.
Okay.
So I'm not a fan of the pasta and the Italian stuff. That's just me. I'm staying away from the gluten and the heartburn.
Nope, I don't need it either. Because we all gonna be bumped up. Pretty much we're gonna be bumped up together. Because we roll like that. Because
I'm looking at peanut butter PB&J sandwiches on the battlefield. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fun. That'll be
or a good bologna sandwich. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, like we had when we did that last event. We had tomatoes and the big thick bologna sandwiches and Duke's mayonnaise and oh wow, it was a big sandwich. Nothing in the world like sitting down with a bunch of ghosts, on a battlefield. And we've got some interesting history that's going to be coming out of that. It's some forgotten history. So after we get through with this event, stay tuned because we'll talk about the next one coming, but also about forgotten haunted history. But without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Doug Owen. Owens. That southern accent, Owen.
What's up, Mr. Owen?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
We're ready to rock, brother.
Terrific. I'm ready to rock as well. That's fantastic.
Look at that
Thanks for having me on the show,
man.
guys. I appreciate it.
That's an amazing smile you've got. So you just got back from the coast. How was the beach?
Oh, the beach was fantastic. Fantastic. My brother lives there and was gracious enough, he and his wife, to host us and took us around all the great sites. We visited the Devil's Punch Bowl and Devil's Lake, and it was fantastic. We didn't do any paranormal, investigations, but next time. I left all my gear here, but it was complete vacation.
You gotta step away.
But, yeah, exactly. But of course, everywhere I went and every family member, oh, I've got this sound in my back bedroom. Next time. Okay, next time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, just full disclosure here on this side of things. My house is haunted, as we all know. It's very haunted. And there's been someone or some people in spirit banging in my kitchen and turning the doorknob on the door behind me. So if we hear it, those of you watching, be sure to comment. If I don't hear sometimes with my headset, it's noise canceling. But if you hear it, throw a flag on the play and let Gwen pop it up because it has really been loud today. Really been loud. So,
it's like every time I talk to you on the phone, it's like they're rattling pots again. They're opening doors again.
Oh yeah, they'll rattle a pot in a heartbeat.
Interesting there, very much. I love it there. Yep.
Yeah,
I'll be there tomorrow.
Into the kitchen.
Yep, Blaine will be with us in South Carolina tomorrow. That'll be wonderful.
At least they're not turning things on. Knock on wood. I went into the kitchen and all the cabinet doors were open on everything. Yeah.
They didn't open cabinets though.
Yeah, open cabinets, closed doors. The two spirits that are here get in an argument, and I have to send one over to our other house next door, separate them so they'll stop. Like, all right, y'all separate for a minute. So, tell us about what, gosh, you've got so many things going on. First of all, here,
Yeah.
let me just pop this up. Congratulations on being on Ghostbusters magazine.
Oh, thank you.
I like that picture.
Amazing. It is a good one.
It is.
Looks like you would sing, like you would be a singer. Flying to the moon.
Right?
Hey, so you said you have a book out that's going into it's becoming a bigger project than just a book, and then you've got
Yeah,
two that are coming out
absolutely.
at Christmas. Where do we start the journey on all these things? Where can you start
So
from the top?
absolutely. So we start the journey with the Unholy Silence. Let's see if we can get a good shot of that there.
A good shot.
So
Yeah.
this is
right
my this is my true memoir that I wrote while I lived in a haunted house for over a year. And I took notes. I sought help from the Catholic Church, from friends, at the time, there wasn't a lot of paranormal investigators out there. The height of social media was MySpace. So, there just wasn't anybody out there. But, as I tell people, if I didn't have witnesses, police reports, pictures, I would have thought I'd have to take some extra Prozac, because your mind automatically says, okay, you're tired, you're stressed, you're drunk. Well, you're obviously insane. So our minds go to that first before we can believe the supernatural. And that's what happened to me. I was completely unprepared for this. Now, this started when I was the victim of a real estate scandal. I was living in a house, and the person was a friend of mine who basically defaulted on their mortgage. I did a lot of work to get the mortgage company to sell it to me as a short sale. But here I am as a young 29-year-old man, and my credit wasn't the greatest, new family, and I trusted a lender recommended to me by a coworker. Now, long story short with that whole thing, I couldn't get approved in the 90 days. The lender said I couldn't get approved within 90 days, and I trusted him. He bought the house out from under me and then began to charge me exorbitant amounts of rent until I had to file bankruptcy to protect myself. So, angry, I went to the Catholic Church, just frustrated. And I wasn't Catholic at the time. I wasn't very religious at all. I just happened to follow the signs and see the cross in the sky. I'm going to pull in here and, at the very least, I'm going to get a good bitch session out of this. So that's what I did. And the priest said, well, if you want to become Catholic, we can set you up in a house. Yeah, you guys don't have to live on the streets. So there was another parishioner that had a lease to own option for a house. And then we moved in.
Okay, so the whole thing starts with deception.
Mm-hmm.
Deception, and then by happenstance, you end up with a priest as a friend, and you're in your home.
Essentially, yeah. And at the time,
it sounds like it would be great, but I have a feeling the other shoe hasn't dropped yet.
Exactly. We thought we could breathe. We thought, okay, our struggles are over. We were financially destitute. We were spiritually bankrupt. We were morally defeated. And, my main concern was my relationship with my wife at the time, my two young daughters, and, doing the things that you normally focus on. I wasn't looking for anything paranormal. I was worried about paying the bills, what's for dinner, car insurance, those damn taxes, all of the stuff that you worry about. In fact, I think I was even worried about the expiration date on the milk in the fridge. But, the thing that I really wasn't worried about was these bizarre happenings. So about 3 weeks after we moved in, the first thing happened. My daughter got into trouble at school. Now, she was about 12 years old at the time. And we sat her down on her bed. Now, the house is just a basic house, nothing super special. In Idaho, they did a Victorian wave in the 50s with the lath and plaster walls, hardwood floors. They imitated that. So we had to kind of step up to get into the house, 3 or 4 steps, concrete molded steps, which put us up above. The girls' bedrooms were upstairs, and I wasn't really worried about anybody looking in. No man could stand there, and peer in the windows. It just wasn't happening. They'd have to be supernaturally tall. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're explaining to my daughter why it's not okay to get into trouble at school. And running by the window, clear as I can see you, was a boy, canary yellow t-shirt, maybe a 1977 bowl cut hairdo, strawberry blonde. And I see him run by the window. Now, that in itself isn't unusual, except we saw him from the waist up, and he would have had to have been 12 to 15 feet tall.
Yep.
And he disappeared. 3 steps, I'm at the front door, bounding like Michael Jordan with these huge strides. 3 more steps, I'm at the corner of the house. And outside, nothing. And I have an 8-foot fence and a Rottweiler in the backyard. And the neighborhood was so silent, it seemed like it was holding its breath. My wife looks to me for answers, and I just don't have any. So that's when it started. That's when it became kind of, I would say, noticeable. That was the first thing that happened.
Yeah.
That one got my attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the boy running by have a particular expression on his face? Did he look frightened?
No.
Or
it was as if he was chasing a ball.
okay.
Chasing
At least that's better.
Like a basketball that was thrown out of bounds, and the kid is focused on getting to it before it reaches that line. It was that kind of focus, but it happened so quickly. And little by little things began to happen. Now, 1952, downstairs they have the windows that hinge outward. They've got the little brass knob. They're wooden. They hinge outward, and you can push them closed and latch them. Now, these were supposed to be for people to escape in an event of a fire.
Mm-hmm.
My thick body would burn to death if the fire happened, because I would not be able to fit through those windows. They were very skinny, right? So, people were much smaller back then. They could fit through anything. So the window was above the washing machine and the dryer. And every time I would go into the bathroom downstairs to shave, the window would open. And I would go and close it. Now, in order for me to close this, I had to get up on my knees. And yes, very painful. Get on my knees, slam the damn thing shut, right? Go back down, shave. There it happens again. 10 times a day. All right, I'm done with this. I go upstairs after the window's closed. I stand directly over where the window should be, and I start stomping on the ground. I go outside. I kick the window, not hard enough to break it, but to push it in. Won't budge. The latch is solid, right? Nothing. I go back downstairs and look, and the window's open. So this happened for a while, and it was a continual thing. And I thought, well, this is just bizarre. And then the feeling, the overall dread and feeling of being watched and being chased up the stairs every morning as I went for work. It's as if every hair was kind of at attention. And I ran up the stairs, like 4 stairs at a time. In fact, a couple of times I slipped, tumbled down, and hit. It was terrible. Anyway, the bottom line is that I felt like something was chasing me. And that was the very beginning. And of course, I'm there for 385 days. And every day there was something new that happened. And the most bizarre things happened. Things I couldn't explain. Things that continued to come and escalate, almost like a probing, as if someone was sticking their big toe in the pool to see how cold it was. So those were the first indications. Now, at this time, I'm simultaneously becoming a newly minted Catholic. And I'm going through the program. I'm going through the entire thing. And of course, what is my first response? Well, let's grab some holy water. I do that, but the Catholic Church, almost at an insistence, wanted that house blessed. And I was like, I'm not even done unpacking. Hold on. They're like, we need to get it blessed within the next week.
Yeah.
Fine. Come out. Step over the box. If you fall and crack your head, I don't have insurance. So I let them come out and do that. So they blessed the house. Before this situation comes to an end, this house would have been blessed 3 times in 1 year. And each time, it made it so much worse. So I continue on with life. I pay bills. I go to work. I try to lead a normal life. And these things are distractions. Things disappear and reappear in the same place.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that.
It's so annoying. It's disruptive. The television would come on and turn off. Thanksgiving, people were over. A box of chocolates moves from one place to another. Those types of basic things. But when things really started to escalate, it started with my daughters. And in particular, my oldest daughter. So her window didn't want to stay closed. And upstairs, the windows are different than the downstairs. And I hope I described this well enough. Have you ever seen those old houses? The windows slide up and down, made of wood, but they have those springs, and it sounds like one of those, mouth harps that boing and going as you put it up and down.
Yep.
Okay. Simple device, simple thing. Her window wouldn't stay shut. It continually opened. I look outside for footprints. Again, we have a Rottweiler who's not vicious, but protective.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no indications. In Nampa, Idaho at the time, there was 81,000 people. I'm in the suburbs. It's a very religious city. Everybody there is Latter-day Saints or better. And, at nighttime, everybody goes to sleep at 6 o'clock kind of a thing. So there's no real activity going on in the neighborhood. So the next thing, the window. I took sheetrock screws and big 6 inches, and I screwed them from the sill into the sash, right? I wanted to make sure that they weren't going to open. But also, kind of being a newly minted Catholic, every room, of course, had a crucifix or some type of a religious thing.
Doug, this is what you're using right here.
Exactly right. Yep, exactly right. 6 of those suckers. Deep, really deep. So we put a Jesus statue on the sill. You've seen the ones at the store, the little ceramic Jesus with the kneeling in the garden. So we did that.
Yeah.
And I went to mass on a Wednesday night. Now, my wife had worked in the evenings, and I took care of the children from like 3 o'clock on. So the girls and I went to mass. And I talked to a deacon, and I said, look, there's some shit happening in this house. My daughter's window keeps opening. Things are moving. Things are disappearing. My daughters are hearing things. And his first thing, well, did you call the police? Well, no. Okay, well, do you have a weapon at your house? Well, yeah. I said, look, you don't understand. I'm 250 pounds. I've got a Rottweiler and a shotgun. I'm not afraid of anybody. That's not what I'm talking about. And he looks me in the eye. And he says, well, your house has been blessed 3 times. I said, yeah, it has. And this next sentence infuriated me. He said, well, no evil can exist where God's love is. I could feel my cheeks start to burn. I could feel the tips of my ears become crimson. And I said, you know what? I'm embarrassed. Forget it. You know what? Forget it. Leave it alone. Forget it. Don't even mention this. I'm embarrassed. And I walked away. So we go home. And I put my younger daughter to bed. and my older daughter is there, and she wants a drink of this juice called Tampico. Maybe you've heard of it. She would love that.
Yeah, I know what it
Tampico orange juice. It's the worst thing on the planet.
Yes,
I think we use it to clean car parts or something. But anyway, she wanted this Tampico juice. So I brought her into the kitchen with me, and the kitchen is about maybe 14 feet away from her bedroom door. It's not very far. Her bedroom door is open. It's not very far. And I get her a drink, and I say, all right, off to bed with you. Go there. And, I pour myself a glass of water, and I start to have a sip, and I hear a blood-curdling scream. Again, not to, plagiarize Michael Jordan, but 3 steps, I look like I'm going to dunk a basketball. I'm in the room. She's in the corner, huddled, biting her fists like this, and just absolutely shaking. I look at the window. The Jesus statue has been crushed, destroyed, crushed into powder. And the window is open with sheetrock screws hanging down and chunks of wood still attached to the heads of the tips of the screws.
Of course.
But it happened in complete silence. Henceforth, part of the title, and many silences, but a lot of these things happened without any sound whatsoever. None at all. Of course, I calmed her down as best I could, and then I put a steel bar in there between the frame, and it didn't open again. But at that point in time, the children and my wife are looking to me for answers. And the one regret I have is that we never sat down at the conference table like a war room and said, okay, child number 1, tell me what you've seen. Child number 2, does that coincide with your report? Wife, what do you have to say? We never did that. It was a strange dynamic where they all sought me out to fix the problem, to come up with a solution and an explanation. So at that time, I could only tell them that the house was settling so many times. I mean, it only works so many times before they go, okay, Dad, you're full of shit. Something's going on.
Yep.
So at that point in time, after talking to the church, I knew I was alone. And I had bottles of holy water, slinging them like a gunslinger every night. And it made it so much worse. So much worse. So, next. Mass lasts about an hour. I don't know if we have any Catholics.
Former Catholic.
There you go. So it's kind of like the McDonald's drive-through of religion. And I hate to say it that way because I'm not diminishing the Catholic Church, but you go there, ho, 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 ho. You sing your song, you get your communion, you drink your wine, you go about your way. You can do it in an hour. If the priest is good, the homily lasts an hour, you're in and out, that's great, you're gone. 9:30 in the morning, Nampa, Idaho. We go to Mass because I want to get home because guess what? I want to watch some football, right?
Sure.
But I did. So we go early. We're home by 10:15, 10:30. And I drive up to my house. And I notice my front door is open. Well, what am I going to do? Of course, I blame my wife. What, did you leave the front door open? No. Of course, what's the second thing you do? Kids, did you leave the front door open? No. As I drive up and turn into my driveway, I notice that the garage door is open. And not just the garage door, but the door in the garage to the backyard. And I can see my Rottweiler looking at me like I have 3 heads, just standing there. And I look at the house, and every door and window is open in the house. And okay, stay here, guys. I'm going to check this out. Now, at the time, my neighbor and I had this little contest going on to see whose yard could get the greenest. It's immature, it's adolescent, it's puerile, but you know what? It was a great contest, and I was working hard to make it happen. So he was out there mowing his lawn, and he had this spray thing on his back. He looked like a Ghostbuster spraying for weeds. It was crazy. So you probably have seen it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, very much.
So I'm John, you are you screwing with me? Did you do this? He's like, no, no. And I search his eyes like you search somebody at the poker table. Are you cheating me? Are you lying? Are you bluffing? Do you owe me money? You look for that tell of truth. And he looked just as terrified as I did. So I called the police. And 2 Canyon County Sheriff's deputies show up in separate cars. They come, and they know each other, of course. I said, hey, man, I came back from church. The stuff's in my house. My neighbor says nobody's even driven up the street. Can you check it out? They go in, guns are out, of course, you know. Sheriff's Department, come out with your hands up. You know, they do the whole thing. They go inside. They return about 10 minutes later. And they come out and they look at each other and they look at me and they say, well, Mr. Owen, there's nobody in your house. Your house is completely safe. Perfect. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. And they stand there and they look at each other in a peculiar way. I said, okay, what else? They said, well, Mr. Owen, we've got to tell you that your home theater stereo system was cranked all the way on volume and turned onto a static radio station. It was pure white noise static.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And I start to walk, and they're just standing there. I said, okay, what else? They said, well, we've got to tell you that every mirror in your house is shattered. I said, what?
Whoa.
They said, yeah, every mirror is broken in your house. So whoever did this, and they look at each other again, isn't afraid to escalate. I said, okay, was there signs of, forced entry? He says there's no signs of forced entry. There's not even new scratches around the key lock we can detect. He said, nothing like that. He said, but, you might want to get yourself a security system. I said, okay, thanks, guys. So I go in and we look. And it wasn't just the mirrors above the sink. It wasn't just the closet mirrors. It wasn't just the vanity mirrors. Upon further inspection, it was the makeup compact mirrors that my wife had for makeup. It was the empty toy ones that my children would play with, pretending to put makeup on. It was the dental mirror in the toothpaste drawer. And it was the forgotten shaving mirror in a travel kit behind the toilet paper far underneath the bathroom sink. Every single glass mirror was shattered in less than an hour in the house. So at that point in time, we thought about it. And the conclusion, unfortunately, was we're broke. We don't have anywhere else to go. Yeah. We are trying to recover financially. And at that point, I'm like, look, I don't give a shit how haunted this house is. This thing is not going to beat me. I'm young, I'm strong, I'm arrogant. Of course, I'm foolish, and I'm a newly minted Catholic. How dare this thing come and screw with me? Oh, I've got the power of the church on my side. This thing doesn't know who it's screwing with, right? This is my attitude. And it was so wrong. And, only years later do I see how it became so much worse. And through sheer arrogance, I'm sure I made it worse. And while this is going on, I watch almost through a foggy lens the dissolution of my family that I have tried to build. The relationships are beginning to erode. These relationships that I forged, that I fought for, that I've sacrificed for, are beginning to break down as we are exhausted from paranormal things happening. And, when you're haunted, there's a certain shame that comes along with it. Now, the society that we live in doesn't know how to treat the differently able. Bless you. Bless you. If you're disabled, you try to hide it. If you're depressed, you keep it quiet.
Yep.
And if you're haunted, you damn sure better not tell anybody about it, because there's 2 possibilities. You're insane or you're damned. That's it, right? I mean, you're a target. So, of course, I kept it as quiet as I could, but still tried to seek outside help. And so I went to, and a lot of you out there who are listening and watching won't know what this is, but I'll explain it. It's called the Yellow Pages. Okay. Now, was the pinnacle of technology back in the day. It was great. You got it thrown on your doorstep, sometimes two of them, and you could look through it alphabetically and find businesses that wanted to do business. Yeah. So I looked under the ghost paranormal, and I found one business, and I called them. And at the time, I believe their name was Boise Ghost Hunters. And I talked to the woman, and they came out. And it was pretty incredible. I'd never seen anything like it. So the night that they came out, of course, my friends from work were completely excited because I told one person, and of course it spread. So my friends were there on the front lawn. Oh, we want to come in. No, you guys stay out here. Let them do their job. Let them see what they can. Dude, I want to see this. No, you don't want to see it. I'll talk to you about it later. So they take off. They scatter. And, I sit down on my front porch as they're unloading their gear, and they go downstairs. And I'm like, oh, I misplaced my cigarettes. I'm going to go downstairs. So I go downstairs, and they're already deep in the investigation. And the lights are off. And I see this one guy with these weird goggles on and some kind of laser being shot around the room, and some kind of a meter over by the water heater is going on. And the main lady who leads the team of 4 people, she's on a laptop in the other little area, in my little laundry room area. And I'm like, hey, can I just grab my cigarettes from there? And the guy just shakes, yeah, but don't touch anything else, okay? And I said, yeah, fine. So I walk into my office, just like a desk like we're all facing right now. And I just grab the corner, grab my cigarettes and my Bic lighter. And I start to turn around and walk. He's like, stop. I froze in place. I turned, what's up? He says, turn around and look at that. I turn around, and my office chair is spinning around. And he's shooting it with a laser. And it's spinning around. And in that office chair is my daughter's, what they call my first guitar. You can get them at Target, the little kid guitar. You get that. And so it's spinning around. Now, this guitar was stored upstairs on her wall as a display piece. It was great. I said, oh, he said, did you put that there? I said, no, I just grabbed my cigarettes. Did you put it there? He said, no. I said, okay. Yeah. And he says, well, right there, it's 10 degrees colder. And by the time I had called them, this was a daily occurrence. And I almost said, yeah, no shit. But I didn't. I was polite. I said, look, this happens all the time. I'm not surprised. You guys are going to find some other stuff. Can I go? I'm really having a nicotine fit. So I left. So I went upstairs. And I went out front, and I sat down. And as I sat down out there and I lit my cigarette, in the instant I flicked my Bic, little old commercials, flick your Bic, flicked my Bic, the porch light goes out. I look around, I get up instantly, go in there. Nobody at the front door. Nobody in the entire upstairs area. When we talked about this openly, when we used the words haunting or spirit or ghost, almost as if I had a hidden remote on cue, the lights would flicker. Some disturbance would happen. Now, the outcome of their investigation was terrifying and somewhat enlightening. So they determined that there was multiple entities in the home. Mm-hmm. That was the first thing. While they were conducting the investigation, a quarter, George Washington 25-cent piece, nothing remarkable, dated 1983, fell from the ceiling and landed on her laptop. Now, I want to make it very clear to everybody who's listening and watching, I do not glue United States currency on my ceiling, and I never have, okay? So there's no reason that there should be money falling from the sky. And if there is, I would like bullion, gold, and giant bricks. Please, right now, fall.
Yes, please.
Here
right?
also, yes.
Absolutely. So
I'll
that was I would love that. So I talked to her, and she also recorded some EVPs, and she was able to play them back right then and there. And if you've ever watched, as you have, a horror movie, it is exactly as you imagine. The deep, unnatural, masculine, demonic voice threatening us. Get out of here or we'll kill you. Clear as day. Terrifying. But there were other entities too. That of a small boy that was warning us that not everything in the house wanted us there. So they determined that they needed to do more investigating. And we scheduled an appointment later on for them to come back. But of course, they never did, because every time they would come back, something would happen. And what happened? My daughter fell, hit her head on a skateboard, had to go to the emergency room, right? Some other type of conflict happened. The car broke down. I couldn't get home in time to meet them. It was as if something didn't want these people to investigate further.
Doug, we've had it happen more times than I want to count, but I hold my ground.
You hold your ground?
Damn right I do. Well, dude, I've been investigating for 41 years. And I'm an empath medium, and I'm telling you, when I'm looking at that property, dude, it's something to do with the land there, and there was something unholy done on that land before you even moved there.
Yeah, I couldn't find any records. They only went back so far, and they're completely incomplete because, again, it's a small city just outside the capital of Boise.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of information at the time. We tried to find research on the little boy who claimed his name was Timmy. And the next step was I reached out to a friend of mine who knew a psychic medium. And that was Thanksgiving morning. She had come over. And we opened the door, and my friend introduced her as Susan. Well, Susan looked right through me as if I wasn't there, walked past me, stood for a moment, and walked directly down the stairs where most of the activity was happening. And then the next thing that happened was she spoke in what seemed to be a child's voice. And again, warning us that whatever was here didn't want us here. And she abruptly said, it seems like maybe someone or something, or another family member has invited this. And then she immediately looked at my wife accusingly, turned around, walked up the stairs, went out the front door, and sat in the car, basically waiting to be taken home. That was the interaction with the psychic medium that we had. That was
Lord, she was a coward.
I know.
I'm
See,
sorry.
that makes us laugh. Doug, it really makes me laugh. It's like, no, we'd have held our ground. I'd have found out what was in your house, and I'd have made sure they were gone.
Well, let's explain what we do. Let's explain
absolutely.
what we do. Let's not get too hasty. What we've done as a team is that we have studied not just parapsychology and the different types of hauntings, what can actually cause them, how they function, what they may want. We've developed their psychic abilities, but also I was a member of Spiritual Warfare Alliance team for over 15 years. So if there was a group that went in and had a paranormal experience that was very negative and it needed to be escalated, they would contact us. And Blaine was also part of the team. Gwen is now part. She has not been doing investigation as long. However, she studied a lot, and she's also a medic, so she can be very observant and also pay attention to your health, because as you're confronting things that are negative, oftentimes your health goes under fire. Your finances, as you just described. It could be your personal experiences with your family, your friends, your job. I mean, it could take everything from you because it's trying to get control. And that's one of the things that we prevent. We wouldn't let something negative take control. But you're in MySpace era, you know, and these spiritual worship
Yes.
alliance teams were still building. But I will say that Leon Wilkes, Reverend Leon Wilkes, and Archbishop David Barry, they've all taught us, including James Long, Bishop James Long, Archbishop, excuse me, James Long. So we're able to, we seek out stories like this to help people learn. And so what you just did was you gaslit us because we would have never done that to you. Your
Never.
No,
children would not have been in that. You would, if I had to sleep in your floor until it was resolved,
we
I
would have.
promise you I would have. All three of us would have.
Yeah.
But it sounds to
Especially
me
with
Just
the
like you
every now
made
and
it
kids.
then,
through.
every now and then,
Yes.
feed us a bologna sandwich and some Kool-Aid. We're good to go. Let's go.
Yeah. Somebody stop a
Believe me,
bell
I
and
wish.
get us some batteries for our
No,
equipment, you know.
absolutely. And at the time, I had no real interest in the paranormal. I mean,
Oh,
I
you
was
had
trying to
people
get
going
promoted at
then.
work. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
didn't really understand
And
that there was
you're financially recovering. So,
exactly, exactly, and that was when, you know, things started to break down, and
Yeah.
most people, and I want to make this clear out there that as a result of this, I became a paranormal investigator. Now, I'm not a ghost hunter.
yes.
I don't
No,
need to hunt ghosts, right?
no, that's a
I
bad
seek
term anyway, Doug.
it is. It's horrible. It's a
Yes,
horrible
we
term.
hate it.
So I do as well. So, and I'm still seeking answers. So one of the most bizarre things that also happened, the girls come home from school and we're downstairs having a snack, watching some television show or afternoon cartoons, right? And we hear the familiar deadbolt disengage. We hear the door slam, upstairs, and we hear the very familiar clicking of my wife's high heels across the wooden floor. The girls look at each other at the same time. Mom's home. Jinx, double jinx, triple jinx. Okay, girls, stop right there. Okay, go see mom. I send them upstairs. I turn the TV off. Of course, I have to play maid and pick up their plates because they're so excited. So I meet them halfway on the stairs as they're coming back down. And they have this bewildered look on their face. And I say, well, what are you guys doing? Mom's not here. I said, yes, she is. She's in the bathroom. Go upstairs. Go. And they run upstairs. My kids are great. They always listen. They never question. That was the one thing that was so awesome. Whatever I told them to do, they immediately did without question. They were amazing.
Right on.
They went upstairs, and I'm looking. The door is closed. Deadbolt's engaged. And I, of course, go over to the window to look out. There's no car. They look in the bathroom. There's no mom. So I grab my phone. Of course, I'm text real quick. Hey, did you swing by and grab something real quick? No, I've been at home for an hour. And she worked 18 miles away. So it wasn't just a quick thing where she'd just sit back by. So the girls are, of course, looking at me with eyes the size of hen's eggs, looking for an explanation. Well, just like the Grinch, I thought up a lie and I thought it up quick. Oh, it's got to be the neighbor, right? It's got to be the neighbor. That's what it has to be. I think it was John next door. He was banging on something. I think that's what we heard. He's working on his fence. Something, just to calm them down. Mm-hmm. So we start to go back downstairs, and we get to the head of the stairs to descend down into the basement. And I hear from the garage door that goes, the door that goes into the garage from the kitchen. And I hear this weird, strange noise, a lot of noise. And the girls look at me. I go downstairs, girls, I'll be there in a minute. I open the garage door and I go out there and I turn the light on and I find my electric sander thrown under the car, plugged in, and it's bouncing up and down, smacking the undercarriage. Now, this was a car I was in the middle of restoring. It was an old Chevy, trying to get a hot rod, race car kind of a thing. I was doing that. I was always afraid of an electrical fire because those little round circular fuses that you get in 1952, that's what I had. So I didn't leave things plugged in, and I certainly didn't leave a power sander plugged in. Yeah. So, I unplugged it, of course, and pitched to the side. girls, looking for an explanation. And of course, hey, the sander fell off the counter and was turned on. Things like that. I just began to take the paranormal and try to make it normal, trying to just soothe everybody's nerves. But
That's a
then
lot of pressure on you, Doug. That's a lot of
huge amounts of pressure, huge amounts of pressure. But at the time, it seemed to be my responsibility, because this was, something I wanted, this family. I wanted a family, 2 kids, 1 dog, 3 cars, a great house. That's the American dream. I was working for it so hard. But it started to target the children. And at that point, things escalated even more. But over the 1.5-year progression, things went from just a mild window opening and an apparition being seen to things being moved, mimicking voices, apparition appearances, even a doppelganger, where at one point my wife and her friend were up late watching movies, and they swear they saw me behind the water heater shaking as if I was freezing, completely naked. Obviously they burst into my bedroom, and I was sound asleep, and they woke me up to tell me what they had both seen. So whatever was in this house began to really try to disrupt and intimidate and cause fear and panic. And by opening the windows, destroying the mirrors, destroying the window frame, mimicking my wife's footfalls. Now, it seemed to be targeting my oldest daughter. In the middle of the night, I would hear
she?
And she was 12, almost 13 at the time. And she screamed out one night. And of course, I went upstairs as fast as I could. I said, "What is it?" And this was after I had screwed the window shut and that whole thing happened. The window was secure. I thought the window had opened again. I was expecting to find the window open. So she tells me, of course, again, huddled in her corner of her bed, "There's some man in the closet." Of course, I rip it open, ready to, fight. There was no man. There was nobody even in there. However, the clothing was swinging on the hangers like a ship at sea, all in unison at the same time. These things at the time, originally when it first started happening, you get that tingle, that, whoa, this is, and your brain goes, okay, hold it. Now, by this time, I'm just annoyed. I'm like, I don't give a shit what you are, who you are, what's going on. I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work. I'm trying to cook. I'm trying to raise a family. And this just continues to interfere. So that didn't work. The next night, my daughter reports a sickly boy crawl from under her bed, go into the hallway and vomit, and then disappear. Now, I questioned her about this, and my younger daughter, who was about 6 or 7 at the time, she corroborated. She said, "Yeah, Dad, I saw it too. That little boy threw up. He puked. I think she used the term. He puked up in his mouth and threw up." Okay. So they both saw this. They were seeing these all types of apparitions in the home. And again, I call the Catholic Church. Something unnatural is going on. And they send out, this time, not a bishop, but the vicar. Not the main vicar, but a newly anointed young priest. And he was all of 24, and he was great. Nothing against him. And he came for dinner, and, we had a great conversation and things. And he blessed the house again. But I never really delved into the details with them. I was still, keep in mind, I was still embarrassed. Somehow I felt this is my fault. Somehow by being or not being a good enough Catholic, or not having strong enough faith, I brought this on. This is me. So I didn't want to tell the priest, "Hey, windows are opening. My wife's coming home, but she's not here. I got things throwing Sanders under the car, beating the shit out of. I hear screams at night. Oh, yeah, and there's a little sickly boy that likes to crawl out from under my daughter's bed and throw up in the hallway. So, I didn't tell him any of this stuff because
I know, honey, I know.
And here's part of the here's part of the problem with the church, and I had a little problem with it, is that they expect us to believe in a supernatural being, the saints, Holy Mary, all of these supernatural things that Jesus did. But when I go to them and tell them something supernatural is happening in my home, I need help, it was silent.
Doug, I've had to go behind so many incidents just like you spoke of.
Gwen and I have too.
Yeah, yeah, we all three have. And it's funny, I'm probably the only pagan that can do a Catholic rite ritual exorcism in the whole world.
Probably.
Do it. But I was given permission by the church to do it.
Nice.
Because they didn't want to do it themselves.
Oh.
Well, now I'm going to say something here, and it's probably going to be a little bit risky, but here it comes. During World War II, the Catholic Church decided that Hitler needed to have an exorcism from a distance. They couldn't have a thing face to face, and it didn't work, clearly. And after that, and I could show you some documents about this, where this happened, but they decided they had to rework all of the exorcism ceremony, the exorcising demons and ceremonies and things like that, that it wasn't working. And since that time, the church in general, they believe their first line of defense is denying that it exists. It takes the power away. And then they go from that to, you finally have to just put it right out there where there's no denying that it's there. And even then, like Ed and Lorraine Warren, they had to go in place of the church to try to get these things done. And then also, our little connection to them is that the man that trained me and my husband, and thereby trained Gwen through the same methods, and the trained Blaine's team were the Warren family. Ed Warren only had two apprentices, one being John Zappis, who was his nephew, and the other is Dave Considine. So I don't really, even though I worked with the Catholic Church, I think that acknowledging takes I'm the reverse. Oh, that didn't happen. No, that's not happening. I see, yes, the windows, but no, that's not happening. I think that shows fear.
Yeah.
What keeps fear at bay is to walk in there and say, all right, what do you want?
Yeah.
Why are you here? This is my house. Take control, take the power, because we're human, but we're a spiritual being living in a human form. And just because this has power doesn't mean that we don't. So I'm so sorry you went through that. I'm sorry your children went through that, and your wife.
Ugh.
Because I can tell this isn't even the beginning of the whole story. We're getting like the Cliff Notes version. And
Correct.
I just hurt for you, man. Yeah. I hurt for you that you had to go through this. Now, my husband is someone that you guys would get along great. He has a situation. He was 15 years old, living in a house where things were flying across the room trying to kill them. Knocked him off the roof. It was actively trying to kill him. They saw people that had died in the house, apparitions of a child that had burned to death, of a man that hung himself. And one of the things that's similar, the church didn't believe him. They sent a 15-year-old boy with a bottle of oil home after he had ridden almost an hour on his bicycle to get help, to tell him to do the thing himself.
Wow.
Yep.
So
don't forget about the best part: bees coming out of the chimney in the dead of winter.
Oh, that's right.
The spiders coming out of the bathroom and crawling all over him. I mean, it's horrible what he went through at 15. Now, when he filmed with Paranormal Witness, they indicated they had little hints towards him being 18 because he was shaving and stuff. Well, he's just a furry boy, so he was actually 15. But, this is one of the reasons why I wanted you to be on the show, because I knew I could feel your story's real.
Yeah.
We would give you confirmation that this is exactly. I'm in tears. We would be able to tell you, look, we have seen this other places, and it's like once you've been seen by the paranormal, you're on their radar now. You will always be forever changed. Always.
Absolutely. And every
what
week,
how you're helping people, Doug, bringing your story out.
yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what the intent is
Hey, Taterhead.
is to tell the story. Yeah, to tell the story and let people know, hey, yeah, you're not alone. You're not crazy. The first thing we do is we think about, our own minds betraying us and all of that. But, if I had somebody similar to you at that time, I might have been able to save that marriage. I doubt it, but my marriage broke. Infidelity became rampant. My wife at the time was having an affair. The children were doing poorly in school. I was basically left to deal with the house and the children on my own. And she checked out mentally, spiritually, and probably made things worse and I found this after I had started to move out. We found notebooks of the Ritual Romano written down, printed out. She became obsessed with the Annalise Michel case, the Emily Rose.
Yes,
a story.
We studied that.
Yeah, she became obsessed with these things, writing down strange incantations. And I'm not so sure that she didn't help invite more evil into the home.
Doug, exactly what she did.
Yeah.
She put that intention out there, and it brought bad stuff because of her intention.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I was combating this with everything I had until I was exhausted.
Well, you're not alone anymore, Mr. Doug. You're not alone. We've got three right here.
Well, the
I
house
never want you to go through it again, but we're here.
Absolutely. And of course, since then, I've created my own, the podcast, the broadcast, the book, 2 new books coming out before Christmas, and an entire army and a network of individuals just like you, and it's a great family. So I'm not really afraid anymore. My daughters aren't afraid anymore of this stuff, and it's
which one of your daughters has
it's a good
kids? Which one of your daughters?
I'm sorry.
Kids? One of your daughters has some type of spiritual gift.
Oh yeah, that would be my oldest. That would be my oldest one. Yeah, absolutely. And she was targeted, and she was targeted. And when this last incident occurred, and I will say the last incident in that house occurred, it was at that point I stepped off the battlefield. I gave myself permission to just step away. Now, this story of mine isn't a heroic affirmation. This isn't me winning against the forces of darkness. At best, it's a stalemate. And actually, I felt like I had lost. But I stopped going to church. I stopped these things. And let me explain why. So here we are getting ready for a Christmas party. And keep in mind, I only stayed in this house until January. So I thought, a little levity. I actually, in spite of everything, received an award at work. I was being inducted into the Who's Who's Hall of Fame, which is great. So having a little party, I was preparing music. And remember the date and the technology, so I had to burn things onto a disc. And everybody who wanted to sing karaoke would have a burned karaoke disc for the party. Now, we had a couple of friends come over to help me, and these girls were friends of my wife and I, and they were younger by about a decade. So we had Meg, who was a friend, and her friend Josie, who we'd never met before. They came over to help me put music on there that would appeal to all ages. You know, like at the time, I think it was Nickelback and I don't even know what else. But, you know, Nickelback was definitely on the list. Not just the old Guns N' Roses and stuff that, you know, I dug. So it was new stuff. So they were sitting there across from each other, right? Absolutely. You know, a little Motley Crue in there, whatever it is great, you know. So they're sitting there going through different, you know, music selections, helping me out. And I'm sitting at my desk, much like I am now. They would be behind me in the door frame, sitting across from each other on the floor. My daughter comes home, my 12-year-old daughter. And she comes downstairs and she says, "Hey, Dad, I was going to cook some of those Totino's pizzas in the fridge that we got from Costco. Do you want one?" I said, "No, honey, I'm good. But, you know, Meg might want one. And by the way, this is Josie. This is Meg's friend, Josie. And hi, how you doing?" I said, "Well, maybe they want one." And, "Oh, yeah, pepperoni for me. Oh, I'd love a combination." My daughter says, "Okay." And she goes back upstairs. So she's gone for about 45 minutes. And about 45 minutes, I'm starting to go, okay, you know, Totino's pizzas take about 10 minutes to cook. They're just paper thin, you know. You've all eaten them. They're great, right? I mean, when you're starving. Right. So they're a great quick snack. So just about the time I stand up to go see, she comes down. I sit back down in my chair, and she comes down, and I let her serve them. And, you know, again, something very important to know about my kids. They were in Catholic Sunday school. They were very well mannered. In fact, all I had to do was just raise my voice the slightest bit, and they would have the tears, you know, and the whole upset face. It wasn't very hard. They were great. I received compliments on their conduct everywhere I went. They were the greatest, you know, made me very proud. So my daughter comes down, hands Meg her pizza on a plate, hands Josie her pizza, and then has a third one and begins to walk towards me. And I stop her. I say, "No, Beth, I'm good. Thank you. I already ate. I didn't want a pizza. You go ahead and have that one. Go upstairs." Now, as if she couldn't hear me, she continued to walk forward. I said it a little more forcefully and loud. "Beth, right there. Stop. I don't need a pizza. I'm good. Stop. I don't want it." She continues to walk forward. I go one octave, just a little bit more stern. "Hey, stop." She continues to walk. She leans in front of me diagonally and puts the pizza down. And when she does, her face is this far away from my face. And she sets the pizza down in front of me. And I look at her eyes. And she has this wicked smile. Her lips are pulled back so tight they're almost white. You can't see her teeth. But the smile is unnaturally large. And she looks at me. Now, I didn't really know what was happening, but I know that the hair on my toes to the hair on my head, and yes, I had hair at the time, stood straight up. And I didn't know much, but I knew that that thing was not my daughter.
Yes.
And I didn't want it to touch me at any cost. Frozen in place for a moment, it seemed like decades. I summoned up every jewel of energy that people store for home invasion fantasies and daydream heroics at work where you thwart the bank robber. I summoned up every jewel of energy I could, and finally, I was able to boom. And when I say boom, my voice is incredibly loud, and it is powerful. And I yelled so loud, I shook the windows. And I looked at that thing and I said, "Get away from me or I will kill you," in the loudest scream, adrenaline-fueled power burst that I had. Josie drops her pizza and puts her hands up in a reflexatory action to defend herself as if there was an attack. Meg, startled, drops her pizza. Now, this thing that is an inch and a half away from my face, it didn't blink. it didn't move. It didn't react in any way. It smiled wider, if that's possible. And it looked at me with eyes that were my daughter's, but foreign. And then, about 5 seconds later, she moved back, almost intentionally in slow motion, keeping eye contact with me as she went to the threshold of the door. Turned to look where she was walking, turned back again to look at me, and smiled again, that horrific, toothless smile. She walked to the stairs, put one hand on the stair railing, stepped up, began to ascend the staircase, looked back one more time and smirked, unnaturally large, and went upstairs. Now, immediately, Josie, who I'd met that day, takes out her cell phone and she says, "You can't talk to your kids like that. That's abuse. I'm calling Child Protective Services." She begins to call the police. Meg stops her. "Hold on. I know Doug. I know his children. They would never behave like that. They listened to him. He would never have to yell." And I said, "Josie, I know you don't know me, but I can tell you whatever that thing was not my daughter."
Yep.
She said, "Okay, let's go upstairs. And you have to talk to her." I said, "I can't. I'm terrified. I can't go." 20 minutes it took me to pluck up the courage. We go upstairs. We find my daughter asleep in her bed. All three of us surrounding her, waking her up. She wakes up confused and terrified, not recognizing Josie, not remembering meeting her, not remembering the pizzas. She doesn't remember the incident or what she was doing for 45 minutes while they cooked. The last thing that she remembers is getting her backpack on and getting ready to come home from school. Now, at that time, I was like, "You got me. Checkmate, motherfucker." I said, "That's it. You got me. I'm done. I'm not going to sacrifice my daughter to whatever's in this house." And I took down all the crucifixes. I stopped making the sign of the cross and I stopped praying. We stopped. And when I did that, it stopped. The last month I was in the house, there was not one single recorded incident of the paranormal. It was over. Done.
Goodness gracious.
I've never been scared before in my adult life except for that incident. Never had to scream like that or yell. And it was the only time I had been terrified. Now, I went back to the church just to wrap things up and, kind of talk to some friends I had made there. I turned around and there before me is the head vicar, the priest. And he grabs me by the shoulder. He says, "Hey, I heard you had some problems in the house. Is everything okay?" What did I do? I lied my ass off to the priest. I said, "Oh, yeah, everything's good. We had a little problem for just a minute, but you know what? It's all taken care of, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much." Because I didn't have the confidence in his ability, the wherewithal or the perspicacity to actually battle this thing and win. I was afraid for my other daughter. And after seeing this thing do what it did, I didn't have any faith at that point in the Catholic Church. So I stepped off the battlefield. I say, "You win." That's it. So these stories and so much more are in my book, The Unholy Silence. And I have photographs. Yeah.
Here it is.
Photographs,
Unholy
eyewitnesses.
Silence.
The Unholy Silence. Absolutely.
Doug, where can they get that book?
This book is available on Amazon, Lulu. I think the last time I checked, it's available in 140 countries and various languages. There is also an audiobook that I recorded myself. If you can stomach my voice for 3.5 hours, I will read you the story. And I think it turned out fairly well, but it's everywhere. Lulu, Barnes & Noble, Google Books. You can find it at Walmart even. Walmart does carry a few copies here and there. So it's out there. And
It gave us chills too.
It made me mad.
Yes, and as well it did for me too. But I wish I had Blaine. I wish you were there. And the rest of you guys.
I would have had so much fun. Oh my God, I'd had fun.
Yep. It's a crazy thing whenever you hear a spirit like that that's being a bully to scream and beg for mercy. But we've heard it.
Real. That would be so satisfying. Yes.
Have you ever been back to that house?
I've driven by it. I've not stepped foot in it. The people who live there now, I will just tell you, and you can get the whole image from one sentence. They've parked a tow truck on the lawn. So you can pretty much ascertain that the curtains are made out of what? Shower curtains? It's horrible. It's trashed. Yeah. Terrible.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, here's the poster that we advertised Doug coming on the show. He was so kind that he advertised for us, and that's him with his book. And also, here's another magazine cover with him telling his story. Wow, it's been great having you. And how can people get to your network?
It's great. I've got the Unholy Podcast. I'm in my studio right now. I do a weekly podcast. I do a weekly live radio show, the Unholy Broadcast, where viewers can call in and share their paranormal stories. But if you Google author Doug Owen, I've got like 10 pages of Google stuff out there, probably more than I should have. But you can find me at authordougowen.com. That is the center hub of everything. And I'm on Patreon. I have an IMDb page that's getting some pretty good love. And the big news is that I am actively seeking, and a couple of studios have shown interest in the book to screen adaptation of the Unholy Silence. So this will become a limited series. Yes. Thank you so much. Or a full motion picture. So I'm in the midst of that. It happened right before vacation. I had a video conference, and it was a great meeting, and we talked some numbers, and so that is going to go forward. I'm very excited about that, and 2 new books, as I said before, coming out. So stay tuned. It's going to be great.
Stay tuned, exactly, and let us know so we can boost it out there for you.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And dude, if you ever need a guest, we're going to come on and be a guest on your shows too.
Absolutely, you guys. We're all on chat together. I would love to have you guys on the show. I've got some interesting questions for you guys that I know the listeners would love to hear.
We all have good stories, big stories. Yeah,
yeah, we do.
We got scary ones. We've got scary.
Love it. I would love to hear them. Absolutely.
Well, Doug, you're welcome back anytime you want to.
Yes, Blaine. That's right.
But I know we got to get this thing over because Gwen's got another show to do right after all this.
Yes. All right, Blaine. You ready?
Let's do it. All right. You guys had a million choices of your entertainment tonight. You chose us. Thank you more than you'll ever know. You guys mean the world to us. Doug, thank you, man.
Yes.
I mean, we really appreciate it. Now, this is one I have to do, but I hate to do it.
Yes. I hate this one.
If you are a soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guard, whatever branch, and you feel like you're going to commit suicide, please call 988. It's free, it's confidential, and it's open 24 hours. There's help there. And if you're too afraid to call the number, call myself, call Lee, call Gwen, call her husband, Matt. I've already talked down 5 veterans. And it's not just for veterans, it's for anybody that's thinking of committing suicide. And I have a special place in my heart for everybody. So if you need help, I'm more than happy to talk to you and talk you down.
Also, Gettysburg, here we come. We're going to see you this weekend. If you are headed that way, please stop by our table. Blaine will have his book, Our Supernatural Journey. It's a great book. And I will not have these available for this event, but the next one I will. It's my cookbook, Bewitched Book of Boo Bites, and it's little Halloween recipes for appetizers and desserts. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have my Victorian Ghost Files, Between Heaven and Ectoplasm, and all the other 9 will be there. Gwen will be there, and she will broadcast. So be sure to say hello to her. And thank you for watching. Thank you, Doug Owen, for being on. Thank you, Blaine, for closing us down as always.
Yep. Thank you. Good night.
You guys.
Just remember, we rolled deep to Gettysburg. The Boo Crew will roll deep.
We'll be there.
Deep. Yeah.
All right. Thanks you, everybody, for watching.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take us out, Gwen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.